Welcome, everybody. He's John. I'm Frank, and we're talking about the late pick five at Laurel Park on Saturday. 12% takeout, 50 cent minimum, 5 races. Could make a lot of money. John occasionally makes a lot of money, and he has a lot of good insights. So, John, how's it going?
It's going well. We did hit the late pick five last week. Didn't make a lot of money on it, but it was a circumstance where sometimes you have to call an audible with your tickets because the play I gave out here was $60. But had I known the track would be as speed favoring as it was, I might end up singling Lady Charlotte in race five and Supreme Law in race eight, both of whom had the most early speed and increased my profit a little bit more. So, well, do keep these tickets in mind. Don't be afraid to adjust them as the day goes on based on how the track is playing.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Supreme Law, impressive again, had run that 100 buyer at Parks, winning by Secretariat like margin. Came right back and thrashed the field last week as well. Curious to see where he shows up next. Might be headed for Stakes Company after a couple of pretty impressive victories. All right, let's dive into this one. 5 races here, 5 out of 9. Their 9 race card on Saturday at Laurel Park. No stakes, but a couple of interesting races. And John, you could kick things off in the fifth race, which is a 12-5 claimer with going to use 4 horses here. I think audibly, probably the 5 horse, the most likely winner, but you're going to spread out a little bit.
Gonna try to go up a little bit deep here. Audibly is most likely winner, as you said. Broker Maiden 2 starts back by Daylight. We had a solid second in a first try against winners last time out, and now goes first off the claim by Jamie Ness. J Rod gets aboard, always a top rider, especially going the 1 turn mile. I threw 3 others in here. Shining Spirit, who has been in slowly improving form and was a solid third last time out, when shipped up to Aqueduct by Mike Gorham. The 7, La Chica for Tequila, broke her maiden easily just 6 days ago. She's, I believe, the only one in this field who has not lost against winners, and angle I always like it. Non-winners are 2 claimers. And the 8, Quit Key, didn't do too much going 2 turns last time out, but has been in solid form around 1 turn. Should appreciate a slight cutback.
All right, on to race 6. You're going to use a couple in here, the 3 horse Trace Aries and the 8, who's going to be 5, 6, 7, 8, Margot's Margarita for Henry Walters.
Once again, kind of going on class here, as bottom level maiden claimers are want to do. It's kind of a formless field. The 8 Margot's Margarita at least has not lost at this level. She has been facing better maiden claimers in her last 2 starts, has shown slight improvement with the races. In fact, ran a career best figure on the Brisnet scale on a muddy track. Could possibly be an off track on Saturday as well. That might play into her favor. Also going to use the likely favorite, the 3 Trace Aries. Has come in second in each of her last 2 starts at this level. We had a nice race last time out, going a mile and a 16th. Made a big move on the turn, fought hard in the stretch, held on, and finished a solid second. She should also enjoy going back to a mile.
That's that one. Trace Aries, trained by Linda Albert. Linda just nominated Crab Daddy to the Triple Crown Series, one of I think 9 Maryland breds. There are 15 horses bred in the Mid-Atlantic that were among the 300 odd early nominees to the Triple Crown, including Crab Daddy. Crab Daddy, pretty nice horse, and might just benefit from some added ground with his style. So we'll see how that works out. On to the third race, 7,500 condition claimers, and you're going to use a whole mess of these. 5 of them is what it looks like to me.
I could have used 5. I could have honestly used more. It's a tricky race because A, a lot of the horses are pretty similar in form, and B, there's a lot of early speed in this field. And when there's this much speed on paper, it tends to play out in one of 2 ways. Either A, it's a giant duel that everyone gets burned up in, or B, all the jockeys get paranoid and they end up
And nobody
letting
goes.
someone go out, right,
Yeah.
and set a loose lead.
We
So
saw
I
a
used
race. I think we handicapped a race a couple of weeks ago that was just like that. There were like 5 speed horses. Nobody went. The horse that won went like 49 and 114 and
Right,
he's got
right. So it's kind of hard to tell like what's going to go on in this race. So I use a lot of the speed horses just in case. I did throw in a closer who might end up being a bit of a price, the six Hateful, whose speed figures really aren't in contention with the others, but she does have a lot of late speed, has great late pace figures. If the pace does melt down, she'll take the most advantage.
yeah, I think it's always my experience as a bettor tells me that if you handicap a race to have a melting down pace, use all the closers. Like
Right.
you don't have to. If you figured out who the closers are, just use them, in your multis because a lot of times, if there are two of them and one of them doesn't fire, the other one probably wins anyway if it's that sort of pace. You're also using Beach Island for Kerry Raven. Kerry Raven had a nice meet at Delaware this past year. Doesn't have a ton of horses, but was winning at a high percentage. Um, and we did a story on her on the racingbiz.com. How about that? So, all right, on to the eighth race. The eighth is the feature of the day. It's first level allowance. A little bit of a small field here, just a half dozen of them. You're singling here, and I thought this was interesting. You're not using Beaver State at all. You're going to focus on St. Jude. Tell us about St. Jude.
Well, St. Jude is a horse I followed for a long time. He's 6 years old. He's only raced 3 times in his career. He broke his maiden by 2.5 lengths back in March of 2023, then went to the sidelines, didn't come back till last January, didn't run that great, then went to the sidelines again, finally came back again on December 27th and ran a huge race. He came in second in a first level allowance, 6.5 lengths clear of third. We had a 93 Brisnet figure, a huge mark first off such a long layoff. Unfortunately for him, he ran into an absolute buzzsaw in the form of Brittany Russell trained Wooster, who absolutely dominated that field. Wooster came back to similarly dominate a second level field back on January 26th and is nominated for the General George. If he goes in that race, he may end up being one of the favorites. There's really no one in here nearly at the quality of Wooster in here. J-Rod stays aboard. This one's had 3 straight bullet workouts at Ben Perkins Delaware Park Base since that last race. I'm not quite sure how he'll do running back on such short rest because he's
I've never
not
done
used to
that.
that. He really hasn't run a race without it being such off a long layoff. But on pure ability, I think he's much the best. If he does run his race, he'll win easily.
Uh, yeah, it is an interesting PP set of PPs for him, as you said. Just didn't get to the races uh, until he was four, and then only two starts since getting to the or three starts total since getting to the races. And Worcester, the horse you were just talking about, was trained by Bob Baffert originally, and then ended up in Brittany Russell's barn. Beaver State, I think Beaver State's the other horse, right? If you were to use another horse, it's probably Beaver State, who Robbie Bales had sent up to New York for a couple of starts and got a win in his starter, got kind of throttled by this level of horses in New York, but that's supposed to be a better group.
He also had a pretty tough trip in that race. He had a terrible break. He got totally thrown out of position, got fanned very wide, and he really had no chance from there. He is in improving form. He ran a 90 on the Brisnet scale in victory 2 starts back at Aqueduct and 84 3 starts ago. So he is slowly moving up the ladder. JT Turrialba, who's having a solid meet, gets in the saddle. I'm just not quite sure he's quite at St. Jude's ceiling, but if you're playing like A-B tickets, he's definitely a solid B horse.
All right, let's head to the finale. It's maiden 30s going 6 furlongs, and you're going to use a couple in here. You're going to focus on Night Preacher, and you're going to toss the horse I think's going to go favored here. That's Bernie the Star. So what are you seeing in Night Preacher?
We do have to beat favorites at some point in a pick five, otherwise not going to get much back. Bernie the Star As you said, is the likely favorite, but he has shown speed and tight in his last few starts. I'm just not sure if he's going to last here. I really like Night Preacher's last start, which came on opening Saturday, January 18th. It was his first start off a little bit of a layoff. He was wide the whole way, made a solid move at the top of the stretch. Um, Ended up being unable to get by a very well-meant Bruce Kravitz firster in Patch Adams, who raced a little bit further to the inside. Night Preacher was in the 3 and 4 path pretty much the whole way. So he lost about 2 lengths both the ground to Buzz Adams, and the winning margin ended up being 2 lengths. Night Preacher ran a 76 that day, easily a career best figure. He showed similar improvement, went fourth 2 starts back when he ran a 69, jumping 12 points from his 3 back race. He's going to sit just off the pace. If Bernie the Star does his usual thing of going to the front and stopping, Night Preacher is going to get first jump. I think he's trending in the right direction, and he should have enough to get the job done today. Also throw in the 3 below by him, who went off favored in that January 18th race, had a bit of traffic trouble on the turn, didn't do much, finished 5th, still ran a solid figure. He's lightly raced enough that I'll give him a chance.
All right, that is John's ticket using the 3 and the 4 in the finale. Any last thoughts here on this late pick 5 on Saturday, John?
I think the last 2 races are the key to the sequence. I'll lean on St. Jude. If he wins, I win for the day. If he loses, I lose for the day. He should run another big race. And then in the last race, if I can set myself up, beat the favorite, I should get a very nice payoff.
All right, that will do it. He's John. I'm Frank. Late pick 5 at Laurel Park starts with race 5 on Saturday. 50-cent minimum, 12% takeout. Pretty good wager. I play it myself. John plays it himself. Join us. One last thing. Free handicapping contest on the racingbiz.com on Saturday, including all the legs of the pick 5. So get right in there and get yourself a free shirt if you're among the winners. All right, John, good luck Saturday.
Same to you, Frank.